Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, just a quick little overview on some cars that we found on Marketplace. I never find deals on Marketplace, and if I do, they get gone or I don't get any response. This kid didn't have the best rating on there, but he did respond, and he actually beat me to the meeting location. Two team cars. They were his and his dad's. And obviously, I think this one was the kids at one time because this one has been run quite a bit more. It's got a little more wear and tear. This one here is super clean, and I think we're going to let this one go. We'll go over the cars, but we're going to let this one go on eBay. That will help fund the restoration of this car. We're not going to necessarily restore this car. I'm thinking maybe this could be our 10-4 conversion. Factory Works has that new four-wheel drive conversion kit, and I really want to build one, and you needed the older style stealth transmission for that to work, and I didn't have one. So luckily, now we have two, but we're going to let one of them go. But let me bring the camera over, and we'll go over some of the details of these cars, and then I will have the listing for this one in the description. So if you're interested, if it didn't sell immediately, it will be listed up on our eBay account. But either way, let's go over these cars, and we'll check out the details. All right, guys, let's go over some of the details of the cleaner car first. They both came with Futaba Magnum Sport radios. This one, both of them are missing the battery door, and both of them have some corrosion on the battery container there. That could probably be cleaned up, and that may function because he did have them listed as running. He had them two separate listings, and I bought them both. Luckily, we got them before anybody else because he had just listed them, and I never, like I said, never get a deal on Marketplace. I'm always a day late and $1 short. But anyways, this one here doesn't appear to be run. It has been run, but very little. That's a brand new speed controller. It appears it hasn't even had batteries or motor plugged into it. That's a fresh beans plug, the old pin style. It is an older build. That's a S148 standard servo, not the 3003. It's got a Trinity slot machine stock motor. I love these motors back in the day on the oval racing, back in probably 91, 92. That was an awesome motor. It does have the 2-inch wheels, 2.1s, which are super hard to find. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're not glued. So that's a good thing for somebody that wants to restore it. These tires have flat spots on them where it's been sitting. But if you wanted to use these wheels, you could, along with the rear. It's got Proline waffle tires, and they are not glued either. This does have just a slight bit of curb rash. It has been run, obviously. We got a little bit of rash on the rear of the pan and just slight on the front or on the middle of the car. The nose plate, they had some Kydex bumpers on there, and I took them off. So obviously there was some dirt trapped between the bumper and the nose plate, and it kind of pitted it a little bit. This thing is definitely runner worthy. So if we do build a 10-4 out of this, I will get this chassis powder coated a neon color. Because since the new factory team cars are out now, I'm not too worried about hurting the value of it. And like I said, you can buy all these parts now. It does have the original UJs, the original spur gear, gear cover. This car here has a few other option parts on it that for whatever reason, or it's a kind of a telltale sign that that was the kid's car because it had a spur gear replacement and it's got a different gear cover on it. But there's the nice one, super clean. I do have 2 shock rebuild kits on the way to rebuild these shocks. They have been sitting forever, but like I said, they hadn't been used very little. There's no marks or mars on the shock bodies at all. And even the tops of the shocks are super clean. The car hadn't been upside down. So that's always good signs and good things to look for. Now, in the contrast, the kids version, it's a little bit rougher. It's got the Futaba radio system, same transmitter, but it has the Futaba speed controller, and there's a chance that that was a combo kit. Because I did work in a hobby shop in the late 90s, mid 90s, and you could buy these radios with the speed controller combo. It's got the factory turnbuckles on everything but these upper links. It's got RPM balls, and it has some punishers. or some, yeah, it appears to be the Punisher turnbuckles. This car has been upside down a few times. There's a couple of marks on the shocks, not too bad. They got the shocks cranked down super hard for, I guess, jumpability. One of the signs is the hole drilled in the chassis for the servo. Now this one does have a 3003 servo. I don't know if that dates it any different. It is newer than the S148, obviously. It's got a couple of loose screws. The nose plate's bent up pretty good. One of the nose brace tubes, the screw was missing. I did replace that just to get it somewhat formed back to where it's supposed to be, because that nose tube was bent back when that screw come out, and was straightened up enough to get the screw in it. Both of them are missing a battery strap. This one has obviously been run quite a bit more. The chassis is worn down where the battery goes, and worn the anodize off. The transmission is super smooth still. The diff could stand to be cleaned up, I'm sure. I did find a lot of rocks in it, a lot of gravel. There was a piece of gravel stuck down between the outdrive and the chassis, because I heard a crunching noise when I first got it, and I thought the gears were messed up, but it was just a piece of gravel stuck down in there. This one has the Trinity Midnight stock motor. The capacitors have broke loose from the can. This one's been upside down a few times. There's some Mars on the shock towers. A loose screw here and there. But the worst of it was the nose plate being bent, and then the bottom of the chassis got some pretty bad road rash. And both ends of the tail section here have gotten bent forward. None of this that couldn't be fixed if you really wanted to, but there's so many aftermarket companies now that you could just buy a new tub and a nose plate and have a nice car here. I do believe the rear arm mounts are on the wrong side, because the car's got toe out and the arm's hanging down at the front, which it has hit the curb a few times, and just left some scrape marks on the arms, and which the reason why it did that was because these arms were facing down instead of kicked up. So these rear mounts are on backwards. That's an easy mistake to make when building it, because they fit both ways. So that needs to be corrected. And of course, all the straightening of the chassis if you wanted to. But you could probably just flop those around and tighten up some screws and have you a runner with no problem. All right, we'll pull this gear cover off and show you the spur change. It's got an RPM gear cover, but it don't have the button for the slipper adjustment. The button is gone, so it's got a hole in it, so it's really not doing a whole lot of protecting at all with that button gone. But again, with the new RC10s coming out, all these parts are very easily available now. They're only original once, but if you wanted to build you a nice runner, you got all the good bones here. Plus, it's got that stealth transmission that you need for four-wheel drive action. This is a good sign. The motor plate is in good shape. It's not bent up, just the corners of the chassis. And it's a good sign that there's not a bunch of gouges in here. That means they didn't swap motors out a bunch. They didn't change gears a whole lot. They did change the spur gear and went up on the pinion pretty good. So he had it geared up to go pretty fast. That is a 26, I think, 24. And yeah, the fact that this not chewed up through here, the motor hadn't been repositioned a bunch and hadn't been changed a bunch. So this was probably built with this motor in it and never changed. Just for my vintage forensics here. Here's the big doo-doo bumpers that were on it. Obviously, these were built for father and son to play in the driveway somewhere, to bash around. They wanted protection, I assume, and we immediately took those off because they just don't look good at all. But I'm not sure what the orange wheels are. I don't know if they're factory wheels and they just been dyed. It's possible. They are not glued either. The rears are glued. These are the old Proline Road Hogs. They are glued, but they're not like overly glued. You could get them off if you wanted to try to reuse them, put some correct tires on it. But there you have it. Like I said, this car here, the pink body car, is going to come complete minus a battery. I don't know if it works. It's untested. It's got these Dean's pin style plugs. I could easily change the plugs on it and test it, but most likely, if somebody's going to buy this, they're not worried about the Futaba speed controller and all that, because you can get some relatively inexpensive modern brushed electronics pretty cheap. So this body is a little tricky to get on here. Here we go. All right, there's the body on it, sorta. Don't have a wing. There it is, complete. That body needs some trimming. Getting around these team shock towers is a little bit tricky because they come inwards a little bit. So I don't think I ever had a team car back in the day. I always had just a standard gold pan, and we went oval racing after that. And once we went oval racing, everything was different. So either way, there they are. And yeah, check it out. Check out the description. There will be a link to this car on eBay. Alright guys, that's a wrap for today's video. Hope you enjoyed that little overview of our Marketplace finds. Like I said, I never get any deals on Marketplace, and we finally did. This car will be listed on eBay. I think we're going to go ahead and throw these wheels in on it because we're not going to run them. We're not going to do a restoration on this car. So there'll be a combo of this car, those wheels, radio, ready to go. And that's going to help fund that build. And if you hadn't checked out yesterday's video of the paint durability test, that's still holding up. No wrinkles yet. And if you come back Wednesday, we'll have our first carpet race with the Losi NASCAR. And we did okay. We learned a lot. We got faster throughout the day. And but anyways, check that video out Wednesday. It's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, until then, we'll see you next time. And hit that like, subscribe, and leave me a comment what you think about our little finds here. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.